And welcome to the Midday News. This bulletin is coming to you live from the Joy997 FM studios here in Kokomlemle at digital address GA0993341. Also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, affiliates across the country including Jubilee FM in Keta, Kekeli Radio in Ho, and ATL FM in Cape Coast. It's also on ABN Radio in London and around the world at myjoyonline.com. The news is brought to you by UMB Bank, UMB Speed App, Digibank, Let's Go, and Telesol 4G. Just a touch in this edition.
From last Saturday to today, I have to stay out all night long.
In fact, it is not good at all. Today like this, throughout, there was no light. Even a peswa, I didn't get it.
As public outrage over electricity and water shortages heighten, members of parliament call on government to fix the challenges if it is serious about preventing a spread of the coronavirus.
Doomsday is at its peak today. They put lights off and on at any time they want. And that is why I'm calling on the president. He should officialize the doomsday.
Meanwhile, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly teams up with the police to ensure that no public gathering directive is adhered to. We have details. Also, Ghanaian alleged to be meddling in upcoming USA elections charged with money laundering. With details, plus bring you the latest on how the courts are enforcing the Chief Justice's directive aimed at minimizing the spread of the COVID-19, and how churches around the world are deploying social media to reach out to their members following the shutdowns and lockdowns triggered by the coronavirus disease.
I don't believe that this is designed to hurt you or to hurt me.
We want you to be covered. We want you to know that we're praying for you,
so that we will not leave the flock that God has given us to shepherd to go astray.
We'll hear from TD Jakes and Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, who's declared 30 days of prayer and fasting for the nation in sports.
Ghana Athletics outlines plans to keep athletes active as it moves to comply with the president's directive to halt all sports activities.
And later,
Panic is not a solution. I think precaution is.
So much fear and panic because of coronavirus. But I just want to tell you, we are more than conquerors.
My mom tried to come around me. Oh, son, I miss you. Mommy, no. Give me your elbow. I'll give you the elbow.
we hear from some celebrities advising the public to be calm and advocating social distancing. All that and more here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. In our very first story in this edition, there is growing public outrage over the intermittent power outages being experienced in several parts of Accra. Today, we have been to Mataheko and Dansoman, where residents have been sharing with us how difficult it's been for them to make ends meet over the last few days. They are also angry about the lack of information from authorities concerning the blackouts.
From last Saturday to today, in fact, I couldn't sleep. I have to stay out all night long. Just came in, opened my window, and then sleep. All we hear is it's a technical fault, and they are fixing it. I just don't get it. We are in a state of not telling the truth to the citizens. A politician will come to tell you, I will do this, I will do that. When he comes on, he will not do it, and then it's all lies.
Designer stroke photographer.
Tell me how business has been for you this past 1 week.
In fact, it is not good at all. Especially, let's say, Saturday like this throughout, there was no light. And the light came Sunday afternoon. And then before in the evening, it was taken off again. And yesterday we reported at work in the morning about 9:10 that way. By this time it was taken again. Till yesterday 10:15 or 10:16 before the light came. For instance, yesterday like this, I was here throughout. A lot of people are patronage coming here to do photocopy, to do some work, to do some designing and others. But when they came, there was no light. Yeah, so the whole of yesterday, even a peswa, I didn't get it.
10 a.m. Kopima na jo 10 p.m. ansa na beba. Nti na say the whole day no manya adwuma. Ne nyina abo me. Kamanya kra, manya profit kra nka 300 cedis there. At least I say me timi nya de kofi na menya bitua me tie to sorry.
It's a seamstress, and she says that for the past 1 week they've been experiencing incessant power outages here at Dansoman. She says that these clothes are given to her by her clients who say that they'll come for it for funerals. She has not been able to sew. She says within a week she's supposed to get profit for herself about 300 Ghana cedis. This week, nothing at all. she was selling mineral, but unfortunately for her, she's unable to also make money out of it because people want to buy drinks, chill drinks, and they don't have access to it. They can't even buy. So she's losing out money here in this business. She's also losing money out big time in the main business that's supposed to get profit on.
Well, the Ghana Grid Company has explained that a scheduled performance test is to blame for the outages experienced last night, but it appears some areas have been experiencing it way before yesterday and also today, and social media is talking about it. We have a number of calls and messages about that situation. Let's speak to the Head of Public Affairs at Gridco, Ebenezer Amankwa. We're grateful for your time here on the Midday News. So what really is accounting for today's outages? You've explained yesterday's. How about today's?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the issues that happened yesterday were resolved this morning. So as far as Gridco is concerned, power supply has been restored to all the affected bulk power supply stations. So then ECG now, as part of the value chain, will take up the power that has come to the bulk supply stations and then distribute to the affected areas so that everybody has light. So the issues that happened yesterday with the gas flow challenges on the metering and regulating gas station in Tama, the other issue about lack of supply through some of the plants in Abuas have all been resolved. And so supply has been delivered to the bulk supply stations where obviously the role of the transmitter truncates. And then ECG picks up this power and distributes. So I can assure you that we are clear that power would, if it hasn't come to a community, ECG will deliver the power as has been agreed.
But if it's a scheduled performance test on a new regulating and metering gas station, how come the public were not informed about it? Because it looks like it was scheduled. Hello, Mr. Amankwa.
Can you repeat the question?
So I was asking that it was a scheduled performance test on a new regulating and metering gas station. How come the public were not informed prior to this?
Thank you very much for that. I think that there's the gas supply station metering and regulation was done by WAPCO. So that's a maintenance process by WAPCO. Through the maintenance, then the difficulties were encountered, which led to the outages. So even though the difficulties were not envisaged, it happened alongside as it was being undertaken, which is why then, of course, Gridco would have to come in as a transmitter to know what's happening and how can we support and play our part in fixing the situation so power can be restored to the bulk supply points. So that's basically what happened. So it wasn't, So it wasn't as if Gridco had known beforehand that during a WAPCO scheduled performance test, gas supply would be truncated. And so people be aware because that's going to happen. No, it was as the process was ongoing, the difficulties were encountered. And what do you do after that? You have to step up with your team to support and play your role in making sure that gas flow issues are resolved, power is transmitted to the bulk supply stations, and ECG can then, as a distributor, take that power and distribute to the affected areas.
So then, finally, what would you say to people who would who are listening to you now, who would say that it looks like you're just giving some excuses or some reasons to cover up for the fact that Doomsaw is back?
Well, this is a good question you're asking, because as far as I'm concerned, as far as Gridco is concerned as a company, Doomsaw, as we have known it in the years past, Doomsaw is not back. Yes, because if Doomsaw is back, the dynamics are different. You need a schedule, you need a timetable, you need to get people abreast of issues, timing, and all that. This is not Doomsaw at all. These were challenges that affected a process that was being undertaken by WAPCO, for which we stepped in quickly to resolve. Okay, and I think the best thing is that, just to add, because the best thing is that in our sphere of influence, what we do, you are working with systems, you're working with transmission lines, you're working with generators, you have your generating companies, you have distributors. Issues happen. But I think the confidence that when issues happen, we are up to the task of stepping in and fixing.
Well, so then, Mr. Amankwa, finally, so it means that the assurance is that we are back to stable power supply. We're not going to experience what we experienced over the period.
we are not in a doomsday era. We are not in a doomsday era because we have overgeneration, and so capacity will come. But the thing is that when issues happen, when there are issues, the confidence that people should have is that GRIDCO as a transmitter is up to the task of stepping up to fix so that supply can move to the supply points for ECG to then distribute.
Okay, we're grateful. That's the head of public affairs at GRIDCO, Ebenezer Amankwa there. Well, the minority in parliament is demanding that government immediately fixes water and electricity challenges facing the country if it is serious about preventing a spread of the coronavirus. Ranking member on Parliament Energy Committee, Adams Mutawakilu, wants government to publish a timetable on the power outages, insisting it is not a one-off problem.
To be able to curb this coronavirus pandemic, more people will stay at home. Your ability to provide them with enough and reliable power will help go a long way to help curb the coronavirus. But what are we experiencing? Doomsday is at its peak today. They put lights off and on at any time they want, without notice. And that is why I'm calling on the president that he should officialize the doomsday and come out with a timetable so that we know that this evening I have no light, I make adequate arrangements. Or that. The other issue...
GRIDCO says they are fixing it all by 11 a.m. today. They had system challenges that they've
always give reasons. Please, shall I start giving you excuses? When we had the total breakdown, that was in 2018 November, the minister came out and said we should give him 5 days and there will be no doomsday. Early 2019, he said because of the bulk supply point at Pokwasi, when that one is done, we are out of doomsday. And we've continuously experienced. The problem is a system lack of investment in our transmission system.
Now, a former Deputy Minister for Water Resources, Works and Housing, Samson Ahi, wants Ghana Water Company to immediately open the Teshi Water Desalination Plant to bring in 60,000 cubic meters of water daily to normalize supply. He warns that the lack of water could make curbing the spread of the virus impossible.
We are facing water challenges. In the light of this outbreak, coronavirus outbreak, where we are supposed to adhere to the highest standards of hygiene methods. We are being called to be washing our hands on a daily basis, which means the demand for water will also go up. But at the moment, we are even struggling to get water for domestic use. And so I'm calling on government to, as a matter of urgency, open the desalination plant at Teshi, where it can add more than 60,000 cubic meters of water per day. The government saw the need, but that if they don't look for funding to be able to contain the coronavirus, the repercussions will be unbearable.
Now, in a separate development, Deputy Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, Patrick Yabuama, has assured Ghanaians that water facilities at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital are up and running, thus being effective for medical care and prevention in the wake of the coronavirus. The minister disclosed this after a tour of the hospital this morning. He's been speaking to my colleagues.
The Sanitation and Water Ministry also drew up a plan to also inspect some of the facilities that will necessarily run on water, which includes Kolebu. I'm here, the Deputy Minister to Tema General Hospital. The Honorable Minister herself, Honorable Cecilia Abunadapa, went to the Ridge Hospital to assess the situation with regards to water. Because without water, all the measures that we are putting in place will come to nothing. So we are being proactive and supporting the President's call. Kolebu decided to add another line to increase or to be a backup for the water intake into the reservoir. All the polytanks we inspected, all the underground reservoir are in good shape and receiving water. So we believe that they've done a good job. Kolebu is on top of the issue. Ghana Water is on top of the issue. We all have to play our roles to ensure that we keep the facility safe and in good position for any, God forbid, eventuality. The President has given a lot of directives.
That's the Deputy Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, Patrick Yabuama. Meanwhile, the Ghana Water Company Limited is asking customers to store enough water as it officially begins rationing of water supply in parts of the country. Let's head back to Parliament on the status of that legislation to back the President's directive on public gatherings and measures put in place for the COVID-19. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins us from Parliament. So yesterday, you were told by Matthew Nyindam that it will come and they will do it within 24 hours. What's the status of that legislation?
The legislation has yet from
Joseph, it's difficult hearing you. If you could just reposition and start all over again. Joseph, can you hear me?
If I can hear you, can you hear me?
Yes, it's better now. Give us the status of the legislation.
We understand that any moment from now, the Attorney General will be in Parliament to make that legislation available to members of the House. We understand that there was a key conversation earlier this morning between the leadership of Parliament in terms of spelling out the timelines and making it a major priority even before the sitting began. That document has still not arrived, but the House is dealing with an issue having to do with the corporate insolvency bill as we speak, and we understand that even before they complete work on that, it's likely that any moment from now, before the House eventually takes a suspension, that document will be laid and referred to the appropriate committees. But again, just to highlight, when it comes to the measures broadly that are being put in place to protect MPs and even members of the public and all, the public gallery has actually been shut and people are not being allowed to get in there in order to come observe proceedings as part of the necessary measure.
Well, that's Joseph Opoku-Gakpo from Parliament. So whilst religious organizations and schools try to adhere to the President's directive, it appears the National Identification Authority is not heeding to that. They've actually served notice they will continue with the mass registration exercise in the Eastern region in spite of the coronavirus measures put in place. The authority has come under public backlash after pictures of its registration exercise went viral on social media. But Head of Corporate Affairs at the NIA, Francis Palmdetti, says the exercise will be undertaken under strict protocols and guidelines.
The National Identification Authority has determined that mass registration in the Eastern region is to continue under the following strict guidelines and protocols. All supervising registration officers, SROs, are to ensure using appropriate queue management techniques, including numbering and appointment systems, that no long queues emerge at any registration center. Where queues become unavoidable, the officials should strictly adhere to the maintenance of the 2-meter social distance advised by healthcare professionals.
Francis Palmdetti there, he speaks for the National Identification Authority. Let's check on the situation. Eastern Regional Correspondent Maxwell Kudeko joins us on the line. So, Maxwell, we know that the NIA asks its officials to use queue management techniques to ensure minimized numbers at registration centers. What can you report from the centers that you visited?
Well, adherence to this particular directive is not the same at all the centers I have visited so far. For example, at the Two Streams Pentecost Church, that is one of the centers I visited earlier this morning. The main registration officials were in the church premises, and then they had 2 tents outside the church where the people who are coming to register are supposed to sit. But you could count more than 50 people under 1 tent, so they were calling them in numbers. Maybe they call the first 5 people, they get into the hall, and then they attend to them. But outside, there are lots of people under the tent, which is contrary to the crowd management they talked about. I also observed in most of the centers that the officials do not have what we call hand sanitizers and gloves. But at the Wesley Cathedral Center, where I'm just coming from, I could count a couple of the registration officials in face masks and then also hand gloves. There are 2 issues here. Sometimes you have one person in a face mask, the fellow wouldn't have hand gloves. Another person will have hand gloves, but the fellow would not be in possession of face mask. So the situation varies from polling center to polling center.
That's my colleague Maxwell Kudeko from the Eastern region. In the Ashanti region, we are told that the regional minister, Simon Osemens, has been visiting some health facilities to check on their preparedness with dealing with the coronavirus spread. But in the last few minutes, Joy997 is also learning that 2 Italians were prevented from entering the country. Our head of health desk, Fred Smith, joins me in studio with details. What more do we know about this, Fred?
Well, Befa, you know the measures announced by Information Minister Kojo Ponkroma on Sunday are supposed to take effect today regarding the travel restrictions for persons coming from high-risk countries. So Italy is one of them, and we understand from the information minister that they got wind of 2 Italians coming into the country, and immediately they informed the airline not to allow them to disembark. We can hear him speak.
Last night, I think there were 2 Italians who we were clear were coming from the epicenter, and because we got the confirmation of the details, even though the aircraft were in the air, we had to make arrangements at the airport to ensure that they do not get off the aircraft and B are returned to their originating destination. So though we are yet to hit the 1 p.m. timeline today, some soft enforcement has already commenced at our ports of entry.
So is there the likelihood that there will be a total ban on flights?
As the President said, the guidelines that have been given are subject to review at any point in time. At this stage, this is what we believe is appropriate to do, and this is how we are enforcing it at this stage.
That's the Information Minister, Kojo Ponkroma. But Fred, just before you go, we know that the Accra Metropolitan Assembly are teaming with the police to ensure that we all adhere to the directives as put out by the President. They have a statement. What does it say?
Well, they do. You know, the moment the President announced or gave the measures for the containment of COVID-19, the Emergency Response Management Team at the AMA held a meeting yesterday to discuss the public health preparedness for the metropolis, and they came up with the following measures to comply with the President's directives. First, the conduct of marriages at the AMA City Hall have been limited only to only the couples and the witnesses, so 2 from both the groom and the bride. Number 2 is all public gatherings and programs at the AMA City Hall are suspended until further notice. Also, the police has been directed to ensure strict compliance concerning public gatherings in the metropolis. All food vendors in the metropolis should provide hand washing facilities and observe hygiene standards per the food safety and hygiene bylaws of the Assembly. And all public toilets in the metropolis have been directed to provide hand washing facilities at their entrances under acceptable sanitation standards as prescribed in the sanitation bylaws of 2017.
Well, thank you very much, Fred Smith. We'll take a quick break here on the Midday News. When we return, Ghanaian alleged to be meddling in upcoming USA elections charged with money laundering. We have details, plus bring you the latest on how the court are enforcing the Chief Justice's directives aimed at minimizing the spread of COVID-19, and also hear from the churches around the world who are deploying social media to reach out to their members following the shutdowns and lockdowns triggered by the coronavirus.
I don't believe that this is designed to hurt you or to hurt me.
We want you to be covered. We want you to know that we're praying for you,
so that we will not leave the flock that God has given us to shepherd to go astray.
UMB was established in 1972 as the premier bank for the corporate and private sector in Ghana. From our very beginning, as the only Ghanaian bank serving all categories of businesses, we set a standard for excellence and innovation over the past 45 years. We've built a financially healthy and strong bank, demonstrated our commitment to our customers and to growing businesses, and exhibited originality and innovation at every turn. At UMB, our focus is built around people, service, products, and technology. These are the key to our present success and our future triumphs. At UMB, we're poised to make a difference not only with our customers, but also in the banking industry. We invite you to share in our future. Our future starts now with you.
Good things come in two, Sampa. You know your chamber quarter. And Nunti, from the second month of the year, for 2 months, DSTV is giving you 2 months DSTV access subscription instead of 1 when you buy a DSTV Zapper. Nothing so. Yes, step you up more than last month. Just pay for a higher package and DSTV will step you up to the one above that from 40 Ghana cedis all month long. SMS DSTV to 1731 and we will call you back or call 0302 740 540. DSTV, feel every moment.
Thanks for staying with us. Time for sports.
And in line with the President's directive to halt all sporting activities in a bid to curb the spread of COVID-19, the Ghana Athletics Association has suspended all of its activities. This comes as athletes prepare for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Now, in a bid To keep athletes active and ready for Tokyo, the GAA has put in place a number of measures. Bawa Hussaini is the Secretary General of the association.
We are asking them to continue training because the suspension or the ban is not on training. They can still train individually, but we also do not want to encourage them to train as a group or to train the teams. They should train individually. Their coaches can't reschedule all the athletes mid-morning, very early morning, afternoon or mid-evening so that they're able to train individually. Training communally is not the best practices as we speak now. So the athletes will continue to train. But they cannot stay without training for the 1 month. It will affect their performance when we resume our competition. So the effects is that they will not be having competition, but they will still continue with training, but not in the group. But they have to train individually. Thank God the athletics is an individual sport, so they can still maintain their level of training till or after the fall.
Bawa Hussaini is the Secretary General of the Ghana Athletics Association. MFA, we are expecting a big announcement from UEFA on the Euro 2020 tournament that was supposed to happen later in June.
That will be called off too. We wait to see. Now, a Ghanaian architect alleged to be involved in a plot masterminded by some Russians to meddle in upcoming elections in the USA has been charged with money laundering. Seth Weirdu was mentioned in a CNN investigative piece to be using social media accounts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, including ones called Woke Blacks and Blacktivists, to urge Americans to vote for third-party candidates or sit out the election entirely. Court correspondent Joseph Akable joins us, where the state prosecutor press charges. Joseph, what's the state's case against Seth Weirdu exactly?
So they say that he's resident in Novgorod, Russia, but he has been engaging in online cyber scam and transferring various sums into Ghana. These are monies he's alleged to have obtained through the cyber crimes. We are told that he failed to justify an amount of 82,443 cedis, which he transferred into Ghana over a short period of time, for which reason they arrested him and charged him with money laundering pending further investigations.
Well, away from Seth Weirdu's case, though, we know that COVID-19 is also hitting the judiciary. The CJA issued some directives regarding the COVID-19.
And so for the court that heard this particular case, if you are not an accused person or a lawyer, you are not going to be allowed into the courtroom. So we actually had to stand outside. And so you have a bit of crowd outside, which in itself is problematic. Those who are going into the courtrooms, they don't have sanitizers, as had been indicated, we made available at the entrances as well.
Well, that's the situation in court, but following the directives, the church seems to be one of the hardest hit, as many of them have been forced to suspend services until further notice. In Ghana, churches and mosques are to stay shut for 4 weeks, but it appears many of these churches are finding various ways to reach their flock. Many of them are now using Facebook Live and other social media platforms to encourage their members. Joy News editor Fifi Kumson monitored address by Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams and those of others, and has come through with this report.
The choir of the Action Chapel International sings to prepare the atmosphere for an address by the founder, Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams. The Archbishop says the outbreak is only a fulfillment of prophecy.
I don't believe that this is designed to hurt you or to hurt me, but it's part of the events of the end time.
But he encourages his members to stay firm and faithful to God, declaring 30 days of fasting and prayer for the nation.
The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knoweth them that trust in him. I challenge you within these 30 days to trust in the Lord like never before.
The Lighthouse Chapel International will also connect to its members via Facebook Live. This morning, there was a prayer session to which thousands of members were connected.
Oh, yes.
Many other churches, including the Gospel Ambassadors Church, La Paz branch, have rolled out similar services. Reverend Kennedy Bentum is head pastor.
Online service must be encouraged by all churches, so that we will not leave the flock that God has given us to shepherd to go astray, or for that matter, unattended to.
The Pentecost Church and the Royal House Chapel have rolled out similar services. That may be the case in Ghana, but it's even bigger in the United States of America. pastor of the Porter's House Mega Church, Bishop T.D. Jakes, has some words of comfort for his members.
We want you to be covered. We want you to know that we're praying for you. We want you to know that we're standing beside you. And as long as there's a way in the world to provide ministry to you, we will continue to do that in whatever format we can.
So, the church is now online. Get connected.
Shall be established in the top of the mountain.
Definitely, the flock will not scatter in spite of this directive. What are people talking about on social media?
MFA, of course, COVID-19, hashtag stay home challenge. So there are memes of individuals. So this one by Marie C tweets at 9 Woodmark. So she's posted a video of a man in the kitchen. He's used liquid soap, splattered it on the floor, and he's holding on to the kitchen drawer, and he's wheeling on it, so he's in the gym. And there's also another one, a picture of a man with bloated cheeks. He said, when you find out your normal daily lifestyle is called quarantine, hashtag stay home challenge. And many people are
when are you taking part in that challenge? When are you
right after here.
Okay,
at least I have a skipping rope, so when I stay home I'll be skipping.
You'll be skipping. Okay, mine was truncated. But that's it for the midday news here on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Dr. Mensa Otabil has a living word. Please stay for it.